In today's English listening lesson, I will read a story to help improve your English listening skills and then discuss the meaning of 5 English vocabulary words you need to know from today's story. Well, hello, students. I hope you're having a fantastic day and welcome to another episode of Parlay with Jay. Today, I have a C-1 English listening practice video. Use this video to practice your listening skills. If you want to study my longer English lessons, use the links in the description. Today, I have a story I have entitled Grumpy Granny. Let's dive into today's story. Miss Henderson was the grumpiest lady on the block, and all the kids in the neighborhood were a little afraid of her. She had a scowl that could stop a dog in its tracks, and she never had a kind word for anyone. If a ball accidentally rolled into her yard, she stormed out, grab it, and toss it into the bushes with a huff. "Keep it down, you hooligans," she'd bark every time the kids laughed a little too loudly near her house. No one dared to ring her doorbell on Halloween, afraid she'd give them rotten candy or worse, no candy at all. But one day, Timmy, the bravest kid on the block, noticed something. Every time he passed by her house, he'd see Miss Henderson sitting by her window, watching the kids with a sad look in her eye. It made him wonder if she wasn't as mean as she seemed. Gathering his courage, Timmy decided to visit her. He packed a few wildflowers, knocked on her door, and waited. She opened it with her usual scowl, but was clearly surprised to see the flowers. "What is this?" she responded, looking confused, but her tone softened as she saw and took the flowers. Timmy smiled and said, "We thought you might like these." Miss Henderson's face softened, and she invited him inside for some cookies. As they talked, she confessed that her grandkids hadn't called or visited her in many years, and this made her feel lonely. Over time, the other kids started stopping by to say hello, and Miss Henderson, now known as Grandma Henderson, became the neighborhood's favorite cookie baker. She smiled more often, and her scowl was almost forgotten. Who knew that all it took to melt her grumpy heart was a little act of kindness? There's a saying that hurt people hurt people. And sometimes people aren't really who they seem to be. Sometimes people are a product of their past experiences or surroundings. And so sometimes, like Timmy, you just have to get to know a person. I knew a woman who always looked mean, but when you talk to her, she wasn't mean. She just looked mean. But hey, let's not forget or be naive. There are some grumpy and mean people in this world. Nevertheless, let's look at a few vocabulary words I would like to talk to you about and teach you. Scowl, okay? An angry or annoyed facial expression. So you might say the teacher scowled every time the kids talked loudly. Maybe she would say, "I wish you guys would keep it down." Okay. Or you might say, Deborah scowled at the spilled juice on her clean floor. Another word that we talked about and mentioned in the story is hooligans, a group of mysterious, or shall I say mischievous or rowdy young people. Now, hooligans you hear back in the 60s, maybe the 70s. Now people say thugs, but hooligan and thug is synonymous. So you might say the hooligans were running around the mall causing trouble, or the group of hooligans knocked over the garbage cans last night in the neighborhood. You're nothing but a hooligan. Okay, gathering. Gathering, which means to come together or collect. Okay, so all the kids gathered at Miss Henderson's home. Okay, so you might say the students were gathering books from the school's library. All right, or the people started to gather around to listen to him play his instrument. Courage is the fourth vocabulary word, the ability to do something difficult or scary. Timmy had courage to go up to Miss Henderson's door. So you might say it takes courage to stand up in front of class to do a speech. Or you might say the young man had enough courage to introduce himself to the pretty, attractive young lady. Okay. And finally, lonely. Lonely. Feeling sad or depressed because you are by yourself or alone. So you might say she felt alone after her best friend moved away. Or he felt so lonely when he couldn't get on the internet because the Wi-Fi was down. Okay, so these are 5 words from today's quick story that I have read to help improve your English listening skills. I hope you have enjoyed today's story and maybe even learned a thing or two. And if you have, be sure to share today's lesson with a friend. That would really help me out, and it would help someone else out as well. Well, as always, I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you choose to join me on my next English lesson. I hope to see you then. Have a great day.